Robbie, man, thanks for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me, man.
I'm so excited. I've been wanting to get you on for so long, but usually how we start is, what's your name, how many kids do you have, and what do you do?
So it's Rob Iafrate, 3 kids, and I'm the owner and president of A Celebrity Limousine.
Sweet. So let's get right into it. How did you even start? I know roughly the story because I heard it when we were at Hats On, but give us the gist. How did you start it?
It's a bit lengthy, but so we got some time here, right?
Yeah, we'll do the Cold Notes version because I also
Yeah.
want to know like how you're doing now and even with kids and stuff.
Yeah.
So
So basically, I mean, growing up, I was a good student, honor roll. I was really into school, and I thought I was going to be a teacher. So that was the path I was going towards. Went to university. First year in university, realized no, this is not me. So I'm like, well, what do I like to do? Well, really, I like to party. I like to go out and network and party. Right? That was just something I enjoyed. Now, how do we make money doing that? Right? So I got into radio broadcasting, DJing. So met some mentors, Sandra Carusi back in the day, kind of mentored me towards that, and went to Humber College, got all my certificates in production and radio broadcasting, and started working at Hot 103 at the time, up in Brampton. So from there, started DJing nightclubs, weddings, and came to a point I was doing very well. But I was young, 18, 19, 20, 21, and realized, can I do this when I'm 50? Probably not. Maybe. Little did I know I could.
yeah, ask DJ Bruno.
Right, yeah, exactly.
He'll tell
Yeah.
you.
So, but still, I wanted something. I want a more simplified lifestyle.
And security too, man.
Right.
DJing stuff.
Yeah. So it was. I wanted the family life. Is really what I wanted, and I knew that being in a nightclub until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and then coming home, I don't know what kind of family life I'm going to get with that, right? And so I said, well, what else can I do? And my brother was getting married at the time, and he was looking into to limousines. He's like, wow, he goes, you should really look into getting a limo. He goes, these guys are really gouging us, is kind of what he said. Not the reason why I got into it, but it just kind of lit a fire. I'm thinking, well, you know what? This can go hand in hand with what I do. It has the same network. And I said, why not? So I called the only guy I knew in the limo industry was this limo driver named Bear. He was driving for the station for Z103 or Hot 103 at the time. And I had been in a limo with him once. So I called him. I was like, hey, Bear, anybody selling a limo? He's like, in fact, Rob, my boss is selling a limo. I was like, awesome. I said, well, let me come and see it. I go see it. He's like, okay, you're to take it for a ride. I was like, no. I said, you drive it, and I'm going to sit in the back. And he's looking at me. He's like, you don't want to drive? I was like, no, I want to be in the back. So he does the test drive himself.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in the back. I'm like, well, do I like how it feels back here? I knew nothing about limos. I'm not even a car guy, to be honest with you. And took for a ride around the block, whatever. I'm like, all right, done. I'll take it.
How much did it cost?
My first limo cost me about 10 grand.
Okay.
Not brand new, obviously. And that was back in 99. So for 10 grand, I bought this limo. I took it home, and I'm like, all right, now what?
Where do I park it?
Yeah, where do I park it? How do I service it? How do I rent it?
Yeah.
There was zero business plan.
Okay.
It was just, take my 10 grand, and I'll figure it out.
Fair enough.
And and here we are, right? So it was just a hustle after that, and just nonstop promoting and providing, just promoting and providing and hitting the marks, and here we are today, 24 years later. As of January, we're celebrating 25-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
So thank you.
I heard I don't know, part of your story was you guys would park out the limo in front of the clubs with a hammer, and people would start. He'd do a shout out for you on a live to
yeah.
air.
So to get it promoted, because I was still working at the station at the time. So a lot of people don't know, me and Hammer, although we're buddies today, we actually started at the station together. He started maybe a couple months before me, and he had the same show he has now, pretty much. The drive. And I told him, I said, hey, I bought this limo. I'm starting this new limo company. I need to promote it. What do you think? He's like, yeah, for sure. So what he was doing at the time was having high school students take over his show or be on the show with him. So he's like, oh, today we have so and so from whatever Saint whatever school, right?
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, this is what we're gonna do. I said, you book the students, the school, and I'm gonna drive them there in the limo.
Oh, sweet.
And drive them back, and we'll promote it that way. Kind of brought to you by A Celebrity Limousine.
Did you have the name already?
I had the limo already.
The name.
Oh, the name. Yeah, I had the name.
You
Yeah.
knew that was the name you wanted to go with.
That was already when I bought the limo. I already kind of
Cool.
knew that was the name I wanted.
Sweet.
And the reason why there's an A in front. A lot of people don't get this now. No, it's not A-list. See, it's
Okay.
back the way we advertised back in the day was Yellow Pages.
Okay.
So Yellow Pages is that big yellow book that got delivered to your house, and you had to flip through when you wanted something. So you look up limousines. People look at the first few. So how do you get to the first? You put an A in front, and you're right at the top.
Amazing.
So it's all.
That's crazy how it was back in the day.
So you put an A in the front. It's like, oh, now I'm not at C, because if I was just Celebrity, then it would be different. So I
course.
put an A in the front, got to the top, and everybody would call us first.
I love it.
So that was kind of the trick of the advertising back then.
That's
right?
cool.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so we were driving these kids, and we started getting promotions, and we started getting calls, and just started taking off and snowballing.
Good for you.
Yeah.
When was the first time your limo broke down after? Like, has it broken down?
Yeah, no, I mean, any operator that tells you they've ever had a hiccup or a breakdown is just lying. I mean, don't forget, these things are mechanical,
Yeah.
and things will break, and sometimes you don't get a warning. And
Is it
especially
expensive?
when everything's expensive.
Yeah.
Everything's expensive. And the more expensive the car, like now we have Phantom Rolls Royces and that's just a whole different ball game.
That's crazy.
Something breaks on that, it's like getting a stab to the heart. But you deal with it.
So how do you deal with it? Like, do you have a reserve fund that you designate for these
not
things?
necessarily, but in running a business, you always have to have enough. You always have to have money to go to. I could call it a reserve fund, I guess, but I mean, it's not really a reserve fund. It's just money that we know is going to be there. And I don't go above and beyond my means. There's a lot of cars that I love out there. I'd love to have more Rolls Royces or big luxury coaches and whatever it is, right? But I know what we can afford. I know what we can rent, and I know our business well and what we do, right? So I stay within my means, and this way we're never caught, in a bad situation.
So do you lease these cars?
Some are leased, some are owned. Majority of everything I have is owned.
Wow.
And the reason being is I like full control of everything I have. If one day I don't want it, I can sell it.
Okay.
So I find that's for me, that model worked very well, especially during COVID, where I saw a lot of my competitors lose all their cars. And we're talking some big companies, 50 plus cars down to 3. So that could just destroy a business. Where during COVID, I was like on vacation. I was kind of living it up, to be honest with you. We had a great time, and I wasn't worried about anything because I didn't have any payments to meet. Everything was taken care of.
So then how did you get the initial payments to even afford all of these?
Again, stay within your means. I could afford that first $10,000 car when I started when I was 23. Paid it cash. I was like, here's let's get this one rolling. And then that one made money. I was like, well, you know what? I'm starting to turn away a lot of business now. With that business that I'm turning away, I know I can put towards another car.
Cool.
Or at least when I buy another car, I'll make that back. So that's just kind of when I see the demand is much higher, then that's when we start rolling in another one, right?
Got it. So it seems like you have obviously a strategy. You kind of like they're employees, almost these cars. You get them as demand gets higher. Good for you. And so how many fleets do you have now?
So right now we're up to 16. We just bought as of right now, we just brought in a brand new limo bus.
Cool.
Stunning, one of my faves. They did a really nice job on this one. This one's, people are going to love this one.
So how do you manage people not damaging it? How does that work? And how does even insurance work for limousines?
Insurance is our number one expense.
Okay.
It's just astronomical, and it just gets higher and higher. And we have an impeccable reputation. So I'm really scared to see what some of my competitors are doing that don't have such a good reputation.
Yeah.
What their insurance is like. because we have very minimal claims. Our drivers are fantastic.
Yeah.
And our reputation really speaks for itself. And yet, insurance is insurance. You can't do. You have to have it. Problem is, in our industry, there's only one game in town, and they just kind of got a stranglehold on us. I wish there were a few more competitors with that. Hopefully, they do come.
You mean with insurance companies?
Within insurance, yeah, just to make it a kind of level playing field for everybody.
So crazy that like every industry has that one expense that will just like write you off.
Yeah, a lot of people can't even get into the industry because of insurance, which for me is kind of a good thing because it kind of keeps competitors out. But I mean, I like to. I enjoy competition. Keeps you on your toes. You know. I mean, I'm the type of guy I've never let off the gas.
Yeah.
I really don't. I shouldn't say I don't care about the competition. I mean, we're always kind of watching, but I'm not too concerned.
You're looking
I'm just headed. I know what I need to do. I know where we want to go. I know the goals that we want to reach, and I'm content when I reach and exceed those. What the competitors do, they do. Everybody's got their own niche. I mean, that's all fine. And there's enough business for everybody, right? So as long as you set your own bar and smash it, you know, that's kind of my attitude.
How many employees do you have?
We're at about 20-ish.
Wow.
Kind of rotates here and there, but
those are including drivers?
Including drivers,
and the ones that are like handling more of like the
administrative
schedules,
side, really we're only about 4.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're a smaller company, but reason being is I do everything. I'm very, very hands-on. From accounting to advertising to minimal driving. I'm more of a relief driver, if anything, if there's an emergency. And there are, like we've had family members that, drivers have family members that pass away that day of a wedding. Like, what are you gonna do? Make somebody drive when his mother just died? Like, you can't, right? You gotta. Who's gonna drive? Well, hey, I'm gonna go, right?
So were you the driver in the beginning of opening this business?
100%. Yeah, I was the driver. I was the everything.
Pretty
much as I am now, except not as many drives as previous.
Who are some of the most famous celebrities you've driven?
Well, in 25 years, we had quite a bit.
Let's hear it.
So I had a lot of stories. Some I can tell, some I can't.
Yeah, totally.
But, I mean, we've had everybody from Al Pacino, Prince, Harvey Weinstein, P. Diddy. I mean, I've had what used to be A-list to see people come down.
Yeah.
Jay-Z, Beyonce.
Cool.
God, so many. A lot of athletes, a lot of the Leafs and hockey players, but Francis Ford Coppola. So a lot of behind the scenes people, just from everywhere, from sports to entertainment. We've from artists, LL Cool J,
Cool.
a lot of cool people.
Any of your favorites?
I'm not really one to get starstruck.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, Prince, I was Prince used to live in Toronto, for those that don't know, and I was his regular. I was his driver. We were his company.
Cool.
So we saw him weekly, if not daily, when he was here.
So just to kind of give a sense, do they come up to you and say, "Hey, like we're looking for a limousine company," and do they ever expect any freebies, or it's just strictly business?
Yeah, no. With them, they want a reliable company to call on. There's no freebies. I mean, if we had to maybe give a freebie to get the account, just to showcase what we can do, that's a different story.
Got it.
But I mean, we're not driving around celebrities for free because I can say, "Hey, we drove around so and so." That's like, what are we doing? We're here to make money, not show off on Instagram.
It's
like that's this is a for-profit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, seriously.
So and they love that because they know they're going to get a professional, right?
Cool.
Professional company, professional drivers that will take care of them. And there's a lot of we're very discreet. Drivers drive. They don't chat with them unless they want to, right? So our drivers speak when spoken to.
Cool.
Depending on the clientele.
Yeah.
If it's a girls' night out or people Sweet 16, then the drivers are a little more involved and rolling out red carpets and having fun with them, right?
Yeah.
To a certain extent. And but when it's a corporate or high-end celebrity or that type of clientele, then we're very focused on just getting them where they got to go safely, professionally, But again, with Prince, because we were regulars and it was pretty much me and a couple other guys driving him and his whole family, it's only natural that they get to know you. So, I mean, I'm hanging out at Prince's house and
Come on.
yeah, like we're not hanging out in the kitchen swimming in his pool, but you know, I'm in the foyer grabbing his bags for him, you know, hey Rob, how you doing? How's the family? You know, he'll have those conversations with him, with his family, meeting the fathers, the brothers, you know, and they become chummy, right?
Did you have his phone number?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, that was cool.
Yeah, I had everybody's phone number. You'd be surprised whose numbers I have.
So do you store it as Prince, or do you have to like...
Well, actually, I would call him Mr. Nelson.
Okay.
To be honest with you, that was because his name was Roger Nelson.
Cool.
Roger Prince Nelson. I forget what it was. Yeah, so Mr. Nelson, I would call him, and he was interesting.
Cool.
he was interesting, but the family was fun. Like Manuela was a sweetheart, his wife at the time, and then I got to meet her whole family. You know, her brother, her mom, her dad. Her dad was a great guy.
You've seen life.
Yeah, I see a lot of the behind the scenes that a lot of people don't see.
Yeah.
I see the real person. And you know, at the end of the day, they're just like you and I, you know. And then when they walk out, it's the, you know, the show comes on, right?
Their alter ego.
Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty interesting to see. But a lot of them are just themselves. Like I had the cast of The Sopranos once.
Oh, that's cool.
Actually, a couple times, and great guys, like such good guy. Tony Sirico was Paulie Walnuts, the one with the white hair.
Yeah.
What a character. He's not even acting on that show.
Oh, that's cool. Just being himself.
Just being himself. He actually yelled at me, not in a bad way. He said I was driving him to an event, and they got him a limo. It wasn't him. It was a third party that booked it for him. So he was in a stretch, and he was sitting over the wheel well. And it was a little bouncy because there was a lot of snow at the time and ice and all that. So we hit a dip in the road or something, and the limo bounced a bit, right? Not like hammer, but it was a bit of a bouncer because he's right over the wheel well. He went up and his hair touched the ceiling, right? He's like, Robbie, don't fucking mess my hair, Robbie. Can we swear?
Yeah, you go for it.
So he goes. So it was just it was a funny. We laughed about it, but it was just kind of just a funny memory, right? But again, no acting. He was like what you saw on the show is exactly who he was.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
So you started your business. At what point did you start having kids?
So I was living at home with my parents when I started. So I had all these limos starting to grow a fleet, and all the cars were sticking out of the garage because they couldn't fit them anywhere, right? And then I got married in 2004, so it was 4 years after.
Okay.
And then 2 years after that, I started having kids. So in 2006, I had my first son, Steven, who was actually kind of becoming my right-hand man in the company. So it's
Steven's here now, right?
Steven's here now.
Shout out Steven.
Who chauffeured me here.
Yeah, that was cool, man.
Anybody that knows me knows since I was a limo driver, I own a limo company, I don't drive anywhere.
I love it.
So I don't drive anywhere.
I know we touched base on this a little bit, but did it get scarier to operate your business once you had kids?
Well, you know what? I was 6 years in, so I was already in a groove. No, I wouldn't say it was scary at all. I mean, you always have it in the back of your head, hey, God forbid, what happens if this company goes south or you know, things don't go the way they were? What am I going to do? I have a family to feed, right? But you know, you always have that in the back of your head. But I have, I'm very diversified, so I have my money in a lot of places.
Got it.
Which is important for any business owner, anyone in general. You never know. If you work 9 to 5 at a certain job, that company might go under. You might get fired for whatever reason. Then what?
You have your money in Daddy Day Club?
In Daddy, we're gonna have to discuss that. You know?
Seriously. Okay. But buying a new car is not a joke. It's like 50 G's, 60 G's. Do you have to take a loan out in the beginning, like let's say your early ages?
See, what I did was I saved up. And I grew up very old school.
Okay.
If I couldn't afford it, I didn't buy it.
Okay.
I didn't put anything on a credit card. I didn't ask for help.
Yeah.
So I just started lower.
Okay.
So again, I started at a $10,000 limo. I didn't go out and buy that brand new $150,000 limo or a bus or whatever, right? So my next one, I wouldn't even remember what it was, but it was probably in around the 40, 50 mark.
Were you still living at home?
I was still living at home.
With your wife?
No, at home.
Okay, but
I was still single.
Okay, but when you got married, now you have like rent or mortgage to pay. How do you even start saving up for new fleet?
Well, you got to be hustling and making sure that you're making money. So it's one, you have a mortgage to pay.
Yeah.
Two, you got payments in your business, but those are basically your expenses. So you got to just make sure that your sales are higher than your expenses.
Yeah.
Right. And if they're not, then you got to start hustling more. So, every month I kind of look at things, I gauge them, like, where are we at? How's it compared to last year? What, we're down. Why are we down? Well, let's look at advertising. Let's look at, making some calls. Let's look at cutting, and see what, where we can lose expenses. So, or gain sales, right?
Got it.
So everything's a balance, right?
If you could go back, would you still do it the same way? Or do you think you'd like take advantage of, let's just say, like 0% interest credit cards, start transferring money here or there to get more fleets?
I do some of that in terms of leveraging off of other. I mean, as we grew, then definitely I was taking loans.
Okay.
So I was definitely taking money from lines of credits or whatever, right, to start funding the newer, more expensive. Because now you're building a name.
Yeah.
So now, hey, our name is getting better. These older style limos or what we were having is not going to cut it with our new clientele.
Yep.
So now you're growing, right? So as you grow, you gotta make sure everything is up to par, and then that's when we started taking loans, business loans, and stuff like that.
Did you have to like speak to your wife when you do stuff like that?
You know what? I gotta give it to my wife. She knows nothing about the business.
Okay.
She trusts me.
Yep.
And knows that I'm going to make the right decision, and that what I'm going to do is best for all of us. And I just do what I got to do.
Does it scare you?
No.
Okay.
Because I trust myself. I trust myself. And at the end, somebody always told me, you know what? Especially with property. So I own a lot of property too. So if people are scared about buying rental incomes or any type of property, at the end of the day, if you can't make it, you put a for sale sign and you sell it.
Yeah.
You might lose a bit.
Yeah.
You might even gain, depending on the market, right? But everything can be sold. So that's something that I always remind myself, that there's no need to be afraid of anything, because if things don't work out, sell it.
Okay.
There's always somebody else that's going to take it from you. So that's why I'm not afraid to jump on anything. I'll get involved in any investment. I mean, any smart investment.
Yeah.
With research, and at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, you sell it. Somebody else will take it over.
Rob AI is going to write me a blank check by the end of this podcast. Let's hear it. So you had your first kid, Steven. Then how long after did you have your second? And was your wife the one kind of managing that?
Yeah, my wife takes care of basically the family.
Okay.
I should say I don't get involved.
Okay.
I always say that's not my department.
Totally.
She takes care of the lunches and all that. But mind you, so I work from home because I have a home-based office, and I take care of the kids in the morning. So my wife leaves for work early, and I'm at home when they wake up. So I was in charge of getting them to the bus stop and to school, and getting them dressed up and all that. And thankfully my mom lives really close to us. She comes by every morning as well. So family's a big help.
How important was your family, and like how important was your dad? You can silence it if you want. Yeah, it's okay.
I thought it was.
It's probably the hammer guy.
No, I forgot to put it on vibrate.
No, it's all good. How important was your family, and did they even like support your decision having your own business, and just how? Yeah, I know old school families, and I know how they are, and just let me hear it.
This is a good one. This one was so me and my dad. My dad's very, very old school, old school Italian. So he said when I told him I'm going to start a limo company, he's like, well, "What the hell are you doing, right?" And then I was DJing. I did everything non-traditional.
Seriously, the DJ one.
Yeah. I was gonna be a teacher.
Okay.
good pension, summers off. Teachers got a pretty good gig, right?
What did your dad do?
My dad was a cabinet maker. Factory worker, came here young from Italy with nothing.
Yeah.
One of those stories and did extremely well for himself as a factory worker.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a whole nother ball game where people say, I pity nobody, because I've seen my family and grandparents come to this country with nothing and everybody owns a house.
Got it.
And everybody's well off, and they came from nothing. What they did here was hustle.
Okay.
And they worked and they didn't take a handout. Okay. And there's so many people watching now that have that same story that know exactly what I'm talking about. Where we see, a lot of people now cry and I'm the victim and, just get up and go to work.
Yeah.
And you know what? Trust me, it's going to work out for you. If you get up and go to work and you hustle, and you come home exhausted, you're going to be good.
Good sign.
You're going to be good. Right. But, so that's my upbringing. Like, what we had nothing and look what we've made. So now it's my job. If I don't exceed that, then I'm an idiot. You know what I mean? Like my dad came here with nothing and gave us all this. What's my excuse? Right? Now I got a stepping stone here. I got a good foundation. I gotta smash this, right? So I guess being a DJ and not being a teacher and then wanting to start a limo company, my dad's like, what the hell? What are you doing?
Cool.
Right? Like, what are you doing? So he would say, go work for the government.
Okay.
Right? So I'm like, well, what do you mean work for the government? Like, I don't want to work for the government. I want to start a limo company. He's like, who's fucking gonna rent limos from you? It's and I didn't have an answer. I'm I don't know, because I didn't have a plan. I was like, I gotta figure it out, man. Like I'll figure it out. So we would yell at the kitchen table, and my dad made the kitchen table. This thing was like his pride and joy. It had this lacquer on. It was like indestructible, right? And he was yelling at me, and I'm yelling at him, and this was like an ongoing thing every night, and over dinner, like every night, like, what are you doing with your life? That kind of thing, right? So one day I just got so fed up, and I grabbed my glass and I just smashed it on the table, and I put a little indent on the table. It's still there.
Oh yeah.
And this table was indestructible, right? And that did not go over well.
Oh, he was pissed.
Oh, fuck, was he pissed? So then I still went on with it. I started my business, and then my number one fan, guess who, was my dad.
Get out.
Just telling everybody about my son, like he has this limo company, and he's on the radio, and he's on TV, and he's doing well, and he's got a new car,
wearing a suit. I'm sure, like
always.
So he must have loved that.
Yeah, so it's he was that was amazing to see.
You broke into him.
So he.
Good for
he
you.
turned it, and God rest his soul. I get teary-eyed every time I talk about it, but lost my dad a while ago, and he actually apologized to me.
Get out.
He said, "You know what? I'm sorry." He goes, "I was wrong." He goes, "You did it."
Shit.
So that wouldn't hit home.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Man.
So I'm like, okay, I got my dad's approval. Let's go. And then I just, we killed it, and we keep on killing it.
The chapter closed. Like it was complete.
Yeah. It's like my dad's happy now, and we can go.
That's amazing. Do you still have your mom?
Yeah, I still have my mom. She's in great health.
She lives with you guys.
No, she lives on her own.
Good for her.
She's in her 70s, and she's amazing. She's we see her every day. So she's a huge help. And that's another thing. Like, especially for a business owner, your time is in your business. So you don't have time sometimes for your family, for your kids, and any business owner and all that. Like I don't turn off.
Yeah.
I'm always on. Especially in an emergency situation where you drop everything and you go. I've missed many family functions at the beginning of my starting up my company because that's if you don't get it done, you don't succeed, right?
Even as a DJ, you probably missed on a lot.
For sure, all the weekends, everything's on a weekend, right? So I missed weddings, I missed family weddings, I missed all kinds of stuff, right?
Did you ever feel guilty? Like now that you look at it, because I did the same. I've missed almost every single one of my friends.
Yes and no. I mean, if I could get a replacement, I would.
Okay.
But sometimes it was a good excuse.
Yeah, of course. There you go. Save money.
I'm making money, and I don't have to go to that event I didn't want to go to, right?
Seriously.
But no, I mean, I don't. Sometimes you just feel bad that, hey, man, sorry you couldn't make it, but this is the path I chose, and I have no regrets. So it's just that's just part of it's my choice, and that's what I have to what I have to do, right? So, but no, never regret anything you do. It's just because it doesn't fit in someone else's plan. I mean, you shouldn't be faulted for it, right?
It's crazy. I have like so many things like I want to talk about. I just don't know what we should touch on, but I guess we'll say what's in store for like A Celebrity Limousine. How much do you dream?
You know, I was always the type of person to think always 10 steps ahead.
Okay.
So I always, although I didn't get into this business with an actual business plan, I'm always thinking where am I going to be, you know, in the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, like where do I want to see myself? And you kind of set that goal. You know, a lot of people have those charts or boards or whatever they call them, vision boards. I just keep it in my head, you know. A lot of times if there's a certain car that I want. So for the longest time, I wanted a Rolls-Royce Phantom. I thought it'd be a great fit for the company.
Yep.
I personally like it. But again, you can't, just because you personally like something doesn't mean you have to go buy it.
Yeah.
Right? It's got to make sense for the company. With respect to my company specifically. So a Rolls-Royce Phantom would be fantastic. So I was like, you know what? One day I'm going to have a Phantom. Now, when I was thinking about that, I couldn't afford a Phantom. It's $500,000, right? I'm like, who the hell's buying these? First, it's like, who the hell's buying these cars, right?
Sure.
So I'm like, several years back, I started Googling it, researching it, you know, how much is a Phantom? How much would a used one be? How much, you know, where can I get one? This and that. And still crazy dollars. And I left the tab open on my computer.
Okay.
And every day I went back and it's just, you know, just a little, I looked up, glanced, Rolls-Royce, Auto Trader, whatever, you know, I'm looking at it and I'm like, you know, it's just always a reminder. Hey, you know, I'm going to hit that one day. What do I got to do to hit that? You know, and you're just looking around. Oh, that one's nice. That one's nice. You know, again, can't even afford it. There's no way in hell I'm going to get that car. But, you know, in the back of your head, you know, one day you're going to have it. One day you're going to have it. And you know what? And then we did it. So in 2023, I think it was, I bought my first Phantom.
How?
Found one, again, that I could afford
Yeah.
at this stage of my life now. And we get the demand for it. So I'm like, you know what? Now's the time.
So do you have to like get the total cost of that Phantom and say, okay, I'm going to rent it out for X amount of dollars. This is the amount of riders I
Exactly.
need.
You got to kind of plan that portion out. Like how long is it going to take me to pay this off? Or, you know, like, are we going to, what's the return going to be on this investment, basically? Right.
Got it.
In addition, it was one of those cars that I liked.
Yep.
So it's a kind of showpiece for the company.
Yep.
Kind of elevated, took us up a few notches. I think it worked well. And it is working well, so well that I just bought another one.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah,
Good for
thank
you.
So a few more weeks, we'll have another one.
So do people request, hey, I want the Phantom, or do you, based on their budget, give them the Phantom? How does it work?
We'll wait for they'll request it.
Okay, and how much more is it than your regular fleet? Like, for example, when you picked up Jay Jackson, I think we picked him up in a Cadillac or something. How much do you think extra it would cost for a Phantom?
That would be like, compared to that.
Like a double?
I would say 5 times.
5 times, yeah. Okay. So then who's your audience that's getting that Phantom?
Majority weddings.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
cool.
Majority is the brides going to their ceremonies. So it is, I mean, we do, so basically what we do is we do everything. Corporate, special occasion. We specialize weddings. That's where we started.
Got it.
And I actually I always said I don't want black car corporate service.
Okay.
I started my company. That's like going to the airport back and forth and, you know, driving executives and celebrities, that type of stuff. We were driving celebrities in the stretches back in the day. Now they just want black SUVs.
Okay.
But that wasn't a business I was going after. I was going after the weddings, nights out, nightclubs, stagettes, birthdays, sweet 16s. That's what I started my company on. And always with the mentality, I don't want black car service.
Okay.
And then one day, it fell into my lap, kind of like, hey, we need black cars for whatever, so and so. And we started doing the wedding, like a late night wedding with it. So we would have like a black town car at the time. So we pick up bride and groom at the end of the night, take them to their hotel. That's how we were using this car. And then we started getting the corporate business. We got a call from a mega client saying, hey, the company we're using now isn't hitting the mark anymore. We hear good things about you, especially with Prince. Prince loved me. So he spread the word. The word spread with him, which is great. And especially on the U.S. side. So the U.S. companies will call and say, hey, actually just going back a bit, well, the first night I drove Prince, picked him up from private jet, took him home. The company that sent him, or the booker that sent him, or that booked us for him, called me the next day and said, Rob, I don't know what you're doing. He goes, but this guy loves you.
Oh, that's cool.
So I was like, wow. I said, when I heard that, and that was back in 2003, 2004, something like that. So still early on, like 21 years ago. And to hear that, I was like, wow, okay. So you know what? Don't touch what ain't broken. Just keep on going and surpass it, right? So the same thing with that. Then I got a call from another company that says they want us to take care of all their car service, but I only had the one black car, so then I would have to subcontract.
Cool.
That's one thing I hate doing. I don't trust other companies doing our work, especially on weddings. I did do it in the early years, just because that's another way to build more income without expense.
Sure.
But that's an area you got to be very careful, because it did turn bad a few times where our affiliate didn't do the job that we would do.
Got it.
You know, and that falls on me. It's not that company. Yeah, that company sucked. But that's who they are. And it falls on me for letting it happen.
Got it.
And and one thing about me, if the client's not 100% satisfied, or we messed up somehow, luckily it's a rare occasion, but if something goes wrong, I have no problem refunding clients. That's really what sets me apart from a lot of other companies. Is a lot of them are greedy. I'm not greedy. I'm here, again, for the long run. I'm not here for just a day.
Yeah.
I want to be here another 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And that's, keeping that client happy. You know what? Hey, we didn't meet your expectation. No problem. Hopefully we can do it next time for you, but this one's on me. That's with that attitude, you need that kind of attitude to succeed, I think, or to succeed in the long run. So
good for you.
Yeah. So we ended up getting this client. Started building up our black car fleet, and it's been growing since. So, if you build it, they will come, they say, right?
How pumped was your dad to see all these people, all these celebrities you would take? Like, did he know you had Prince?
Yeah, he knew. He, you know what? He wouldn't tell me directly.
Okay.
So what I found out ironically, at my dad's funeral. We had a big luncheon after. A lot of his coworkers were there, and they all came up to me. They're like, "Wow," your dad does." Tell you, I get teary-eyed every time. He goes, "Your dad was so proud of you. All he talked about was, of all his kids, but just specifically talking about me. He said how he was just so proud of what you did, and he would always come to work saying, "Oh, my son," and
that's cool.
This and that, and to hear that after,
yeah,
I was like, "Holy shit!" I had no clue, right? Like I knew he was finally satisfied with what I did, but I had no clue that, I made him that proud, right? So it was good to hear.
How do you see that, and how you speak with your kids and stuff? Like, how is the dynamic?
Every conversation I have with my kids, maybe he could confirm that, is I speak giving you a lesson.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's your teacher in you that you didn't go to school for.
Yeah, exactly. Right there. I didn't become a teacher for other people's kids, but I teach my kids. That's for sure. Everything's a lesson, and I think that's great, because they need to learn, and who better to learn from their dad, And I could say, now, yeah, guess what? Yeah, I'm successful. So you want to be successful, do things that I've done, and I'm going to show you how.
Are you a hard ass?
Yes and no. Not like my dad. My dad was, again, old school, right?
Yeah.
Like my dad was, a yell. He would yell. He would scream. He would hit. It was he didn't beat us, but I mean, it's any old school. Boss. Yeah, exactly. I would get a slipper whipped at me, a belt, once in a while, right? I'm not like that with them, with my kids, but I am strict. I don't spoil them. Although people looking from the outside would think maybe they're spoiled because, we have fancy cars and that kind of stuff. But that's not my kids aren't, because it's so regular for them, they don't see it as something fancy, right? So it's, funny story, I would take my kids to daycare Speaking of,
Yeah.
they would pull up in limos.
That's cool.
So not because I was some shooter fancy guy, I had to take my son in a limo. It's because I was the only car that was left on the lot. I was like, okay, shit, I got to get my kid to daycare. I only have a stretch left. So I'm grabbing car seats, I'm strapping them in the back, and I'm pulling up to daycare, and they're in the playground when I pull up, and people are looking like, who the hell is coming in a limo to daycare,
That's
right?
cool.
And they see me get out, and they get out. And then after a while, they realized, like who I was and that I owned the company, and they're like, okay, I get it. Like you're not being a shooter or anything like that. That's totally not me. I'm not, and we're not like that, right? But it's just, I'm sorry, it's the only car I have left. I have to get them here, right? So, but it's funny.
Do you think they'll take over the business?
My son, I believe so. He's in it right now. He's really enjoying it. He's got a knack for it. He's fitting in really well. My other kids, I don't think so, but there's always the opportunity for them.
Sure.
They have their eye on a different path, but they're both still really young.
Why did you want 3 kids?
Because I had 2 boys, I wanted the girl.
Did you have a girl?
Yep, my third's a girl.
I don't know why I never knew you had 3 kids.
Yeah, so
that's why
3.
you're here.
Yeah, 2 boys and a girl. So I said, you know what, we got to go for the girl.
And did it get harder, like having kids?
No, although we did have a few miscarriages along the way, but no, I'm a machine, man.
Hey. What would your wife say? Like, would she say that she's just, you're saying that because she's doing all the work, or is it division of labor that everybody knows their role? Because 3 kids, I have 1, and I can't imagine having 3. Just emotionally, kind of, you want to give them your attention.
Yeah, no, I give them attention, that's for sure. But my wife is, if it weren't for my wife, yeah, she's the captain of the family in terms of the kids. Extracurriculars, the soccers, the dance.
That's what I mean. It's hard.
Well, funny thing though, we had this conversation, my wife and I, saying she knows my lifestyle.
Okay.
Business wise, even socially. Socially, I'm out all the time. And that's part of networking.
Yep.
Part of having a good time, right? But part of networking. And that's another thing as a business owner, it's not going to come to you.
Okay.
Like I've built a good name, and now a lot of it just does come to me, but I'm still out networking, handing out business cards and meeting new people. It's all relationships. You can know everybody, but if you don't have a good relationship with them, that relationship's useless. So everybody says, oh, it's who you know. Yeah, it's part of it, but it's who you know and the relationship you have with them. Okay. If I can give anybody some advice, a business owner, know the right person and then build a relationship with them and nurture that relationship, because that's the key. That's the key to success with anything. You can know, everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
But, nurture that relationship and it'll flourish. But, so given that lifestyle, I told my wife, our kids are not doing rep soccer, competitive dance. They can do house league stuff, regular stuff, as I did growing up. And it's manageable. Like, because I have a lot of friends whose kids play hockey and they're traveling all over the place. And that takes a lot of time out of your life, a lot of money, not to mention the time. And let's be honest, 95%, maybe 99% of these kids don't end up playing at the NHL or
sure,
whatever, being on Dancing with Stars. You know what I mean? Like what do they do? You know what I mean? Not to say don't chase your dream, but
totally,
stick within reality too, right?
Of course.
And I said, that's not the life we can have. And we agreed on that. So now my middle son is in competitive soccer. Okay. In rep soccer. My daughter's in competitive dance.
Cool.
So I kind of argued with her. I said, "Hey, this one's on you." I said, "We had an agreement," and she's taking it. She's doing well with it. So I gotta give her a lot of credit that she really takes care of our family.
That's sweet. Graham, is it? I don't know when we started. We're at 44 minutes. Oh, okay, so we have 16 minutes. Cool. So let's say somebody's going to book you, a celebrity. Do you know who you're going to be riding this month? That's like a big deal.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I'm going to say 95% of the time we have no clue who it is.
I see.
So my drivers will tell me out there, like, "Oh, did you know who I drove?" I'm like,
okay.
I don't know. Mr. Johnson? Who was it? And they end up saying, "Oh no, it was so and so from that show or this actor." every day we have someone.
That's cool.
Half the time I don't even know who they are, even if it is a real name. I'm not. It's just I'm not into all that. You know, I'm not watching TMZ and all this kind of stuff, right? Ironically, one of our drivers was on TMZ.
Come on,
escorting Lady Gaga into the airport when we had her a few years back.
Oh, that's cool.
So he's like, "Did you see? I was on TMZ." I was like, "What are you talking about?"
That's wicked.
So we went back. We're like, "Oh my god, there you are!" So, I was on Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
You get out.
Yeah. I drove. God, I don't remember his name. Chris Humphries.
Okay.
Chris Humphries was married to Kim before Kanye and before everybody else. So they were here. The girls were in New York, I believe. That was the episode of girls in New York, and the guys came to Toronto. So Chris, Scott Dislick, and the whole crew. They came. They did. Actually, this is a funny story. They did an appearance at Schmooze. The nightclub Schmooze was back on Mercer Street.
I used to live on Mercer Street.
Oh, no way.
What year are we talking?
God, this had to be 2007, 2008.
Okay, wow,
maybe.
that was
Maybe
okay. Got it.
in and around that time. I could be off a bit, but so basically picked them up at the airport, drove them. We ended up going to this appearance at Schmooze. The club was Schmooze. I don't know if it was Schmooze at the time, but let's just assume it was Schmooze. And this was the time when the Canadian dollar. So this is how you can look back at what time it was. The Canadian dollar was higher than the U.S. dollar.
I remember.
Okay, and there's importance to that, and I'll tell you why. So I picked them up, and we are going to the club. I'm driving them, and the promoter meets them at the car just down the street. So they're filming the show at the same time, which is why I was on the episode. Cool. So when you see us pulling up, you see me driving. Right?
That's cool.
So I was still driving at the time, and the promoter comes and gives us Chris or his handlers, all that, a brick of cash.
And it's in U.S. dollars, and you don't want that, baby.
So no, they gave it to him in Canadian.
Okay,
they gave it to him in Canadian, and I don't know. Let's call it 30 grand. Okay. I don't know the number, but let's just. From what I saw, I'm gonna say it was about 30 grand. So so Scott grabs a hold of it, and Scott, I don't know if anybody watches the show, they know he's a little bit arrogant, funny arrogant guy. And he's like, "What's this? What's this Canadian money? What are we gonna do with this Canadian money? Treating it like monopoly money." What does he do? He grabs a bundle of at least like 10 grand, and he tosses it out the window.
You're lying.
Tosses it out, and the homeless guys are going nuts, right? So I'm like, and again, I'm staying professional, but I had to pipe in on this. I'm like, Scott, just a heads up. Just, the Canadian dollar's worth more than the American right now. He's like, fuck, really?
Stop the
car. So they give me the cash, and they're like, okay, Robbie, you put this, you hang on to this. I'm like, look, guys, that's a lot of money. I said, put it in the glove box. I'm staying in the car the whole time. I'm not parking. Like, I'm just here right outside. Put it in the glove box. Where you put it is exactly where it's going to stay. Okay, but I'm watching for you. Don't worry. Fine. So then they come back out and they're all mangled, and they're like, "Oh, let's go eat somewhere, right?" So I'm like, "Okay, well, here's a few spots. A couple of Chinese restaurants, this and that, and give them all the regulars. Some places that are open at 3 o'clock in the morning." He's like, "No, let's go to 7-Eleven."
You're lying.
I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, let's go to the 7-Eleven at College and Spadina. There's that 7-Eleven. So I'm like, okay, go to 7-Eleven.
Hot dogs.
Pull them up. Yeah, they go, no, he goes into 7-Eleven. Then people are recognizing them, taking pictures and this and that. And he comes out with a Ben & Jerry's mini tub of ice cream. And he rips it and he's eating it like, like an apple. I'm looking at this guy, I'm like, what are you doing, right? And then I dropped him off. All right, man, great meeting you. Take care.
C'est la vie.
But it was just funny, just.
That's what I'm saying. You've seen life.
Yeah, I've seen
cool.
everything. I've seen everything, but nothing surprises me anymore.
Yeah.
I've seen it all. I've seen it all.
I dig it. I think we have like a few minutes.
I have a good Al Pacino story.
Let's hear it.
So one of my favorite celebrity encounters is Al Pacino.
Okay.
Again, I don't get starstruck, but I'm going to say with Al Pacino, kind of got me a bit.
Okay.
The nerves a little kicked in with him. So I had a driver on him for the most part. He got chased by paparazzis. We had to get rid of the paparazzi and all that too. So it was a pretty hectic trip with him. He was here for about a week, so we took care of him quite a bit. So at the end of it, I met him at the Four Seasons and escorted him to his car before he went to the jet. And we're walking down the hallway of the Four Seasons and just chatting with him, saying, you know, Mr. Pacino, I hope you enjoyed your stay and our service here with A Celebrity in Toronto. And he's like, yeah. He goes, where's the kid? So like, the kid? I'm like, yeah, you know, Rob. My driver's name was Rob at the time. Young guy. We were all young back then, and Al's older. So everybody's a kid. He would kind of use that as a, hey, kid. You know, that's kind of how he spoke, right? So I'm like, yeah, no worries. Rob's in the car. He's ready for it. Yeah, but the kid with my bags. Where's the kid with my bags? I'm like, yeah, no problem. Rob's in the car. He's got your bags. You know, the car's ready to go for you whenever you're ready. The bags are in the trunk. No, but the kid that took my bags. Where's the kid? I was like, yeah. I'm thinking like, am I not getting this? I'm like, so I'm like, Mr. Pacino, yeah, Rob's with your bags. They're in the trunk. They're in the car. They're with you. And we're walking hand in hand down the hallway of the Four Seasons, and he stops, and he turns to me, and he looks at me. He goes, "Listen to my words." He goes, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm being scolded by Al Pacino." Me and his publicist kind of like just at the corner of our eyes looked at each other. We're like, "What's happening right now?" He goes, "The kid that took my bags," and then out of nowhere, this kid from the hotel comes behind me. He's like, "There's the kid. I just wanted to give him fucking $20." And he throws him a 20. It's like the bellboy, the luggage kid. I'm like, how am I supposed to know what the hell you're talking about? What kid are you talking about? And anyways, we took a photo. The publicist says, let's get a photo. So we ended up taking a picture. And if everybody's seen this picture of me and Al Pacino, he just looks like he's a bit of a mess.
Oh, shit. You stressed him out.
So he's kind of like, it was a funny moment.
Do you think he would remember that if you told him the story?
I don't know. I hope so.
Yeah. He probably tells that story to like his friends.
Maybe. It's like that idiot in Toronto. You know what I was saying? No, he was a gentleman. It was a good time. We spent a bit of time with him. His girlfriend, we were with him and his girlfriend, and they had a bodyguard. Bodyguard praised us as well. So cool. It's good to hear from his staff saying like, wow, you know, we've been around to a lot of cities. You guys knocked that out of the park. So when you hear it from that caliber, it really makes us know that we're doing the right job. You know,
good for you. Usually, how I end the podcast is I ask two questions. The first one is, if you could have anybody perform at your wedding, dead or alive, who would it be? And then the second would be, if you can have anybody come on this show, who would it be?
If I could have anybody perform at my wedding. Wow, that's
has to be Prince at this point.
Definitely I would be Prince because, well, one, I was a fan, but I wasn't a crazy fan. But I was a fan, and just we have that connection. So it would have been great to. I got married when I was driving him, hoping he would come. I didn't send him an invitation, but hoping
he just show up.
Somehow he would. Or throw me a gift or something. But that didn't happen. We weren't that close that I would send them an invitation, right? That's
sure.
There's boundaries,
totally,
of course. It's very important you don't cross any of those boundaries. Always a Bon Jovi fan. Cool. I would think Bon Jovi would be pretty cool to have. It's a tough one. I mean, I'm old school, like Stevie B type guy, but I've driven and seen Stevie B like 100 times, right? Yeah. So that would be cool, just because the family and friends, though, and we all kind of grew up listening to him.
Of course.
And to have on the show, who I would want for you to have on the show. Wow. An Al Pacino would be great.
Let's say somebody from your circle that can
my circle
make it happen.
Oh, for my circle to make it happen, you got to get Hammer on the show.
We're working on it.
Yeah, we got to get Hammer on the show. Yeah, no,
he wants the bag first. Yeah. We got to save up to get him on first.
Hammer would be great. A Drake would be amazing. He is a dad.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so
that's my dream. I keep saying it. My goal is to have like a collaboration with Drake, like an OVO versus Daddy Day Club, and then have him like own half the company and just do crazy things.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But there's a lot of local celebrities. I got to think Dad Mode though.
I've had people who are not dads on the show. I really like having Hammer because I know him.
Yeah, for sure. You can get a little more personal, and he's
funny guy.
He's a great chat.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I mean, anybody from the station is great. I mean, like Monaco's Monaco is a Toronto legend.
Totally.
So he'd be pretty cool to have on your show too. He's got, probably more stories than I have.
Encyclopedia.
Yeah, so he's cool. He's seen it all as well. But yeah, for sure, there's a lot of people in this city that will be in this chair.
All right,
I urge you.
We'll start with Hammer.
That's it,
Robbie. Thanks.
I'll put a
in
little
a word
whisper
for me. Yeah, totally.
No,
I got to give you a shout out. I remember when I graduated, I was looking for a job, couldn't find a job, was stressed out, made a post, guys, looking, and you're the first person who reached out and said, "Hey, man, call me." So thank you for that.
No, my pleasure.
Appreciate that, buddy.
I'm all about supporting people that I know that are gonna do it.
Appreciate you.
Thanks.
And shout outs to Graham, Toronto Podcast Studio. This is a sick place,
amazing.
man.
I love it. This place is so cool.
We're gonna have you back on to hear more of these celebrity stories.
For sure. Anytime. I'm gonna build a few more stories and we're gonna come chat about them.
Sounds good, buddy. Appreciate it, man. Thanks again.
Man. Thanks for having me.